This is Demi World.
Oh my God! Hi, welcome to Demi World,
the podcast that looks at the underbelly of society.
Yes, and this season, I'm so excited for this season. We're talking about unsolved mysteries.
I'm so excited for this season, too.
I've been having so much fun researching. I'm just like, oh my God, I love this.
I mean,
so happy.
I am too, and I don't know if it's just because we're away from cults where I'm like, everything is amazing. And as long as it's not a cult, I'm all on board for it.
Well, cults are just so infuriating.
And I feel like I just couldn't be as creative maybe with my research topics as I wanted to with cults because you're limited.
Yeah.
All you're talking about is cults, you know? It's just, there's no really variety.
No, and I mean, they all operate the same way. There's a formula.
Yes, so unsolved mysteries.
Yes. So each episode will look at a different type of mystery. And then we're going to tell each other a story. So excited.
And so our first episode, we're in season 4 already, if you can believe it, is John and Jane Doe's.
Yes, John and Jane Doe's. Do you want to start or do you want me to start? I know you're really excited to tell me. Mine's pretty eh.
I mean, you know I'm bursting at the seams because I've been wanting to tell you this all week. I mean, it's not like any secret. I'm just, I don't know. You're just
excited?
I don't want to say I'm excited. I just think it's interesting. And whatever. Yeah,
okay,
I'll start.
Well, why don't you go ahead and go?
Okay. So my unsolved mysteries of the Jane and John Doe variety are the unidentified or now nameless bodies on Mount Everest.
Oh, okay.
So the death zone, as it's called, is any elevation above 26,000 feet. It's called the death zone because human life cannot survive above that altitude for any extended period of time. The death zone on Mount Everest is called Rainbow Valley because there's up to 200 frozen bodies in brightly colored mountaineer clothes lying along the route to the summit.
Wow. So it's just like this colorful path of bodies?
Of dead bodies.
Wow.
And if you died recently, you might still be clipped into the fixed lines on the route, and people got to go around you. Doesn't that sound lovely?
So the bodies stay there because there's really no viable way to remove them.
Exactly.
Wow. Okay.
So it costs anywhere from $30,000 to $70,000 to remove a body from the mountain.
What the fuck? So they can't just fly in a helicopter up there and just airlift people off? I mean, I can't imagine why that's so expensive.
Well, you can't fly a helicopter at that elevation
altitude.
Because there's
Gotcha.
not that much oxygen. Air.
Yeah, there's not enough air. Okay.
So you can they do have helicopters that fly into base camp, and I forget the elevation of base camp. It's much lower, though. So
right.
In the death zone, which is above 26,000 feet, you cannot get a helicopter up there.
That's really high.
It's really high.
Because, I mean, when you fly in an airplane, it's 35,000 feet.
Yeah, right.
That's high.
Yep.
Holy shit, that's a really tall mountain.
Yeah, and
that's not even the peak yet.
Nope, the peak is at 29,000 feet.
Holy shit.
Yeah.
Damn, that's a tall mountain.
So between the death zone, it's 3,000 feet from the start of the death zone until the summit, and so that's where all the bodies are lying.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. So it costs between $30,000 to $70,000 to remove a body, which is the cost it is to climb the mountain. So,
oh my God. Okay.
So most people sign a waiver that if they die, their bodies are just going to stay where they died.
Wow.
And most do actually just stay exactly where they died because no one at that altitude has the strength to move them.
Right.
So sometimes climbing teams will go on a special expedition to bury a body or recover a body, but it's really rare. Mm-hmm. People steal oxygen tanks from each other at the death zone.
Oh my God.
It's all about self-survival.
It's just not my thing. I would much rather lie on a beach and drink a fruity drink It's really not my thing.
And there's been times where teams have gone up to remove a body, but they've died themselves trying to do that.
I'm sure. Well, there's the Sherpas, too.
Yep.
They die all the time going up there, but there's really no other way to make money.
Right. So a little about the mountain itself. Mount Everest is the world's tallest mountain at 29,029 feet. It is in the Himalayan mountain range. It borders Nepal and Tibet. The Nepalese call the mountain Sagamartha, and the Tibetans call the mountain Chomolungma. But it was colonial named in 1865 by the British in honor of surveyor and geographer Sir George Everest.
Okay.
The British were the first to try to climb the mountain. Since Nepal's borders were closed at the time, all expeditions went up the North Ridge route from Tibet, which is more difficult than the now well-taken route of the Southeast Ridge on the Nepal side. The first expedition, which they called a reconnaissance expedition, went in 1921 to try to find a route up the mountain. They made it to the North Col, which is at 23,000 feet. In geomorphology, a col is the lowest point on a mountain ridge between two peaks. It's also called a gap.
Okay.
So the next year, the first official expedition went and made it above the North Col to 27,000 feet, which was the highest humans had ever climbed. 7 porters, or Sherpas as we now call them, were killed by avalanche on the trip down. In 1924, the first really famous expedition went out. This is the expedition that included George Mallory, and he's the one who famously answered he wanted to climb Everest, quote, because it's there.
Because it's there, yeah.
Yep. So 3 summit pushes were attempted this time. It was confirmed climber Edward Norton made it just above 28,000 feet, which was another record. And it has been hotly debated ever since whether George Mallory and Andrew Irvin summited on the 3rd push. But they did die on the mountain, and Mallory's body was uncovered by an avalanche in 1999.
Oh, wow. Okay.
A few years back, Netflix had a documentary from that expedition called The Epic of Everest. And it's really amazing, but what I found most amazing is these guys frickin' climbed this mountain in dinner jackets and smoking pipes. It's just so different from all the down bubbles suits that climbers wear today.
Wait, dinner jackets?
Yeah, seriously, like wool, like dinner jackets. And like leg warmers. I mean, these
You would think that, I mean, the people who live near the mountain, like the Sherpas, or even if you go to in the Arctic with the Inuits, one would think you dress more like that to stay warm.
They seemed warm enough. I don't know. It was probably just wool on wool on wool on wool.
Wow.
I don't know. Those English...
But still, it gets wet. It gets really heavy.
Those British mountaineers, I don't know. They're just... I don't know if they ever got cold.
Wow. I'm speechless right now. That's crazy.
If Netflix still has it, you should watch it. It's really neat.
Dinner jackets. Okay, sure.
Yeah. In 1949, the Tibetan route to the mountain was closed because of Chinese occupation. And Nepal started allowing a couple expeditions a year from their side of the mountain, which is the southeast side and the much easier route.
Mm-hmm.
So in 1953, Kiwi mountaineer Sir Edmund Hillary and Sherpa mountaineer Tenzing Norgay were the first confirmed people to have summited. That expedition required over 400 people to make it happen.
Damn, that's expensive.
Yeah, that's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people.
I would also like to note that Tenzing had been doing high-altitude porter work on Everest since 1933. And we can assume he got Hillary's ass up the mountain safely, got to the summit first, and had to step aside to let Whitey be the first person to stand on the highest point on Earth.
Oh, you know that's how it happens.
Although the only picture of the summit was taken by Hillary of Tenzing, so there is that.
Oh, okay. Well, all right. Give him a pass, a tiny one, but a little bit of a pass.
Since 1924, more than 300 people have died on Everest and at least 200 bodies remain. For the upwards of 800 people who attempt to climb Everest every year, some of the bodies have become trail markers and have been given nicknames, like green boots.
I know about green boots. Brand new green boots just sticking out of the snow.
Oh, hey, Cyndi. Oh, yeah, when you get to green boots there, you're going to want to hang a left and head up to the South Pole, okay?
Okay. Don't you know?
So it's commonly believed that Green Boots was a climber from India named Swang Paljor, but it could also be his climbing partner Dorje Morup. And it has
so neither one descended the mountain.
No, it's never been officially confirmed who Green Boots is.
You would think they'd be perfectly preserved. You could almost just take a picture of their face.
But then someone would have to identify them.
Yes.
And then we're not assuming that not every climber has families or people are even knowing that they're climbing, you know?
I guess that's true. Well, I mean, they know who this guy is. I mean, he had to. It just seems like he signed a registry somewhere. Like there has to be somebody who knows him somewhere.
It's never been officially confirmed who Green Boots is.
Crazy. But then again, when you get up to that point, you're like, I'm not going to stop and take a picture of this motherfucker. Like, I just need to get some oxygen and get the hell out of here.
Although there are a lot of pictures of him, or at least there's a few.
Yeah,
but no one's really thinking that he's above 26,000 feet. No one's really, their brains, like half of their brain cells are dead. No one's really thinking clearly, you know?
Right.
Either Paljor or Morup, they were climbing together, and their death is believed to have occurred during the infamous Everest blizzard in 1996 that killed 12 people and was the inspiration for John Krakauer's Into Thin Air.
Is that Into Thin Air? What's that? Is that a movie?
It's a book.
Oh,
it's a
book.
movie now,
okay.
but originally it was a book.
Oh, okay. I don't know it.
So quick story about what is now called the Everest tragedy and the basis for Into Thin Air. So John Krakauer is a mountaineer. I think he actually lives in Washington State. He wrote that book pretty shortly after the expedition, and he was pissed because it had been the largest death toll on the mountain up to that point by far. Mm-hmm. And in the book, he slams a socialite named Cyndi for the deaths because of her inexperience on the mountain.
Okay.
He kind of blamed her inexperience. She required a couple Sherpas to basically that like short roped her and dragged her ass up the mountain, and just kind of like, you got no business being here type.
Does that happen often with people who are inexperienced trying to climb this mountain just for like the status of it?
All the time. It's happening more and more every year.
But
at that time,
crazy. That's crazy that you would try to do something like that without any kind of training.
And well, she had actually done 6 of the 7 summits, so she had quite a bit of climbing experience. But John Krakauer really felt that like she didn't have the experience to climb in the Himalayas. Mm-hmm. And I think she was kind of like one of the first people who was doing that, like one of the first wealthy people who wanted to get up that mountain. And so like at base camp, she like, and I'm not even exaggerating, she ate caviar and watched movies in her tent. This is 1996. It's not like we just have computers now where it's easy. Like Sherpas had to bring like a VCR and a TV and like all this, however like you get power to do this. Like he just felt as a true mountaineer that he would never do that, you know?
It is very selfish.
It is. And so he was really pissed, and he kind of put a lot of the responsibility on her for all the 12 deaths that happened on the mountain.
Did she make it down the mountain?
She did.
Okay.
Remember asshole boyfriend Cyndi?
Mm-hmm.
Okay, well, he met Cyndi, and he didn't know that it was the Cyndi.
Oh, no. Oh, do tell. This sounds like a story that I would have said about me after I had a few drinks.
Okay, so the words that ended up coming out of his mouth were, well, at least you're not the same Cyndi who's responsible for all those deaths on Mount Everest. Wah, wah.
Her whole body language just changes and she just gets up and walks away.
Well, she was like, I am that Cyndi and you have it all wrong. And then she cried and walked away.
I want to feel bad for her, but at the same time,
Not really.
the caviar and VCR in the tent, like,
Yeah.
I don't know if she should be maligned for a bunch of deaths, but at the same time, she sounds like a real selfish bitch.
Right.
I don't know her, Cyndi, I don't know you, and you're never going to listen to this podcast, but you're not here to defend yourself, so we're going to talk about you.
Okay. So, Green Boots. He lied in the little cave.
I don't know the difference between those words.
He laid in a little cave. He lied and he laid. I'm going to say
lay down. He laid down. He laid down.
So, okay. So he laid in a little cave. He died at about 28,000 feet.
Okay.
And so his body stayed there from 1996 until 2014 when people started reporting Green Boots missing.
Oh. What?
But by 2017, the reports are Green Boot lays where he died, and he had been relocated by an avalanche to a nearby location.
Oh.
He is hanging off a cliff with other climbing debris in an attempt to clean up the route a little. Mm-hmm. Or he was given a proper burial by other climbers. So the reports are sketchy. It's hard to get news, apparently, from the summit. You know, like...
I can imagine. Because, I mean, it's 29 and change, right? 1,000 feet.
Yeah.
And he's at 28. So he's there. People are just not... They're, like, asphyxiating at this point.
Yeah,
they're
so...
not thinking clearly.
That's why there's all these conflicting reports on whether or not Green Boots is actually still visible on the route.
Huh, that's interesting. I hadn't heard that. Interesting. Okay.
So Green Boots Cave, as it's now called, is a good resting place for climbers on their way up. And it was also the place where British climber David Sharp died in 2006 after being ignored and passed by 30 to 40 people until he died. His body has been removed from sight, but he died right next to Green Boots.
Oh, wow. Okay.
In 2017, Sherpas found 4 bodies in a tent dead in the death zone on the mountain. No expeditions were reporting missing people, and so the identities of the climbers are unknown.
So they must have been a whole expedition themselves.
Yeah, or just independent climbers, because people climb it independently, too. They do have to get permits, but I don't know if when you come off the mountain, they're checking your name off of a list of, oh, okay, you made it, you know.
Yeah, it's not like the Pacific Crest Trail where they have, like, you got to check in all the time. So they don't send people out looking for you.
Right.
Yeah. Okay.
So they seem to have died of carbon monoxide poisoning from using their camp stove in their tent to keep warm. And if possible... Those who die unidentified on the mountain are removed and taken to Kathmandu for autopsies. If they still aren't able to be identified, the Nepalese government cremates the remains.
That's if they can remove them.
If they can remove them, right.
Okay.
And there are people on the mountain whose names were once known, but now they go by other names, like Sleeping Beauty and the German. Sleeping Beauty was an American woman named Frances Arsenative. In 1998, she was the first American woman to summit without the aid of oxygen.
Whoa.
She was climbing with her husband, but they were separated on the descent. And when he realized that she wasn't at the camp, he went back up the mountain with oxygen and medicine to help her, but he died on his way back up. And other climbers encountered Frances and tried to help her with oxygen, but she wasn't able to move and they had to leave her. And so she died as they found her lying on her side like she was sleeping. She laid on the route for 9 years until her body was relocated further off the route and out of view of climbers. The German's name is Hannelore Schmatz. She died on the mountain in 1979, sitting leaning against a backpack with her eyes open and hair blowing in the wind.
Jesus, okay.
Just a few hundred feet away from Camp 4 and just off the path to the summit. She sat there for years, perhaps decades, until snow moved her body further down the mountain, and her eyes stayed open until they were gone. That's how climbers saw her.
Whoa. That's, I gotta say that if I'm gonna go do some outdoor exploring, I don't want to see a bunch of people who didn't make it.
Right.
On the path that I'm on. It's just so dark.
Yeah.
It's almost like, this is the path to hell, everyone. Here's all the people who died going there. It's just, you know what I mean?
It's so dark, and I think it's kind of why I wanted to do this. I don't think people understand how dark it is on Mount Everest.
No, it's super, like, green boots. Okay, it seems like it's just, green boots, but it's a person.
It's a person, just like...
who laid down and died because he couldn't make it up the hill. He didn't even make it all the way up the top.
Just like Sleeping Beauty and the German. I feel like people are almost... we don't know Green Boots' name for sure, but I feel like people are stripping them of their identities to make them seem less like people.
Well, they're romanticizing it.
You have to, right? If you're going to go up there and see them, if you're going to do it.
Yeah, that's the only way that you could handle seeing a bunch of dead people. It must be very shocking.
Almost 200 people. That's crazy.
And not to mention all of the shit they're leaving behind. Like, there must be tons of canisters of oxygen and actual poop.
Yeah. Tense.
Yeah.
So Dr. Peter Lowry of Golden, Colorado, climbed Everest last summer, and Jason Blevins interviewed him for the Colorado Sun newspaper. He said, quote, "I thought I would see bodies from 5, 10, 20 years ago, not from this season. I did not mentally prepare to see people who had died less than 24 hours ago. That brought, I think, an unexpected layer of complexity to how I was processing it, and to be honest, I'm not sure I'm done processing that." End quote.
I don't know that you would ever be done processing that.
He, one of the bodies that he saw was someone that he knew that he went on a trek on in Antarctica. I don't think, he probably knew he was on Everest, but I would imagine seeing your friend just sitting there dead would be difficult.
Right.
And then, and then everyone had to climb over the legs of another climber on their way up to the summit because they were still clipped into the ropes. Because I do think at some point when that happens, Sherpas unclip the bodies and just kind of move them a little further off the route.
Right. So now with Sherpas, do they have to bring up oxygen too, or are they more acclimated for the... I guess everybody has to bring up oxygen, right? You can't do it really otherwise.
They bring up oxygen too.
Okay, because like in the Andes, if you're climbing up the Andes, they stop like midway and let your body acclimate a little bit so you don't get sick. Mm-hmm. And get altitude sickness. But the Indians who live there, they're fine. Like they've actually, their bodies have over the centuries have adapted. Like they have larger hearts and larger lungs, and they're shorter, so they can go up and down the mountain.
Well, same with the Sherpas until they hit the death zone.
Right. Okay.
Because most people who climb Everest, they'll have to use oxygen almost from base camp. The Sherpas can run up and down the mountain all day until they hit the death zone, and then they have to start using oxygen.
And nothing lives above the death zone. There's no plants. There's nothing up there.
That's correct. Yeah.
Okay.
So people with limited climbing experience need to stop climbing this mountain, and people with summit fever need to drop their ego because you're literally killing people.
Yeah, the Sherpas.
And the other people climbing.
And other people who are trying to climb this fucking thing, yeah.
Because I saw a picture, I don't know, there's like one day where there was a summit push of like 60 people trying to go or something like that. It's crazy. Mm-hmm. If you have one inexperienced person and they sit down and rest for like just a little bit, it slows down everyone by at least 2 hours.
So people are just standing there.
People are just standing there. So in the death zone, and usually what happens is when you start out, you're like, if we don't make it to the summit by 11 o'clock in the morning, we have to turn around and go back no matter how far away we are. And that's why you get summit fever, because people don't make it to the summit by 11 because either there's long lines or they're just climbing slow. And so like at 11:30, they're like, I'm just going to keep going. And at 12:30, they're like, I'm just going to keep going. And that's how accidents start happening, because also what people forget too when you have summit fever is you have to summit. You have to also climb back down. Most of the, something like 50% of the deaths happen on the way back down.
Right, because they're already exhausted.
Yeah.
You're depleting your oxygen. You've been standing in line. Like, that it seems like it needs to be better regulated. Like, they only allow, 20 people to go up a year. That's it.
It's hard. It's such a moneymaker for the Nepal government. At some years, they do restrict. Like, I don't know, last year maybe they gave out 300 permits, but sometime recently they gave out 800, and it's like a permit. I forget, it's $15,000 per permit or something like that. I mean, it's a lot of money for them.
Yeah. Yeah. But still, I don't know. It just seems really unconscionable.
I mean, I think that
on all fronts.
I think that the people in charge of these expeditions need to stop worrying about money and, take people who know how to climb.
Yeah. And not just these rich fuckers that have the money to do it. Just because you have the money to do something doesn't mean you should do it.
Exactly.
Like this whole Bloomberg thing with his Super Bowl ad was like $10 million. It's like, you could have relieved so much debt or poverty with that, dude, if you had just like maybe paid off some student debts or, I don't know, gotten rid of somebody's mortgage or their medical bills. You could have done some good in the world. You could have done some good, but no, you're just going to run a fucking ad for your presidency because you're a giant douchebag.
Yeah, and he's talking about how he's going to be so much better than Trump. I mean, you and I live in Portland, and I have to say, I've never seen such a large homeless population as there is here. Like
that's huge. There's huge tent cities.
There's literally tent cities everywhere. I've never seen anything like it. I feel like that kind of money could maybe be used here to try to figure out that situation, get people some housing.
Yeah, because you can't. It's a conundrum to the point where it's like, okay, I don't have a house, so I can't get any kind of benefits. I can't find a job. I can't get health insurance because I don't have a house. Mm-hmm. You have to put an address down, a physical address.
I heard maybe recently there was a documentary on Netflix because there was a father and daughter who were found living in Forest Park, and they had been living in Forest Park for like a year or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I mean, it's a huge issue up here.
It's a huge issue up here, and I mean, it really blew my mind. I had no idea.
The school that Matt works for, they have a tiny house. Mm-hmm. I don't want to say what the word I'm looking for. They basically take homeless people and help them build a tiny house, and then they have a home. Oh. That's what they do. It's the 7th and 8th graders work with people who don't have housing to build a tiny house. They have a huge lot next to the school where they have tiny homes that everybody's working on.
Oh my God.
And then they have a home.
I love that.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a Jewish school, so they're all about giving back to the community way more than any other religion that I've seen. There's no like strings attached.
Right.
They're not, they're not missionary religions, so they're not trying to
convert
indoctrinate you and convert you. No, it's just here, you need this.
Yeah.
We're all about community service and public service and giving back to the community, because that's how you make a strong community, is you invest in it. Mm-hmm. But it's not like, if you want to go get food from or supplies from Salvation Army, you might have to sit through a Bible lesson.
Yeah, right.
It's not like that.
Right. Like every other religion is like wanting to buy a timeshare.
Oh my God, that's so true.
You gotta like sit through their presentation first.
Oh my God. It's totally gonna go on a t-shirt. Religion's like buying a timeshare. Oh my God. Nothing's free, bitches. That was really good. Did you finish? Do you have more?
No, I'm done. Yeah.
That was really good.
Thank you.
That was really good. I can't imagine. Yeah, I'm going to go do this thing and be surrounded by dead people who hadn't made it before me. Mm-hmm.
But I'm going to make
one of them. Yeah, it's not going to happen to me.
I will 100% make it, even if I have to steal someone else's oxygen, God damn it. That's what blows my mind, is that...
Well, yeah, that's the thing. It's like people are, a person sits down to rest, and they start to pass out, and people will take their shit.
Yeah.
Their body's not even cold yet. It's not like on a battlefield where you're taking dead people's boots. Like, this person's not dead yet.
No, but they'll steal oxygen from, like, people's tents at the camp.
Oh.
Like if their oxygen tank is malfunctioning because the broken valve or something, they'll steal. They'll literally...
It's really unsportsman.
It's so unsportsman, and that's why I get pissed about it too, because it's the highest mountain in the world. These are supposed to be mountaineers. They're supposed to be sportsmen.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
But everyone's out for themselves up there because you have to be. The Death Zone is like the Wild Wild West.
I'm just not interested in anything that's that self-centered. You know, I'm just not into it. I just, like I said, I'd much rather sit on a beach and drink a fruity drink.
Yeah.
Go wade in the water, like go on a nice mellow hiking trail where I'm not gonna die. You know, chill. Just not my thing. I just can't wrap my brain around it.
I mean, I like climbing mountains, but those mountains are too tall for me.
Apparently they're too tall for most people.
For most people, for almost everyone.
For pretty much everybody. If there's a dead zone,
right,
it's pretty much too tall for everything.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing's up there because it can't sustain life. But people see it as a challenge. I get it. You know,
because it's there.
Conquer Mother Earth, you know.
Because it's there. That's such like a bro thing to say.
Oh, that's something somebody says who has testicles.
Totally. Because I can.
Yeah, it's a male bravado bullshit thing. It's toxic masculinity. Because it's there. I gotta conquer it. You don't have to conquer everything. It's okay, dude. Just Netflix and chill, man. It's okay.
They didn't have Netflix and chill in 1924. You know, I guess that's how they entertain
That's the problem. That's the problem. That was the whole problem. Just chill out a little bit. So mine is just a very straightforward.
Can I say something
Jane
real quick,
Doe.
though?
Yes.
Netflix and chill is a euphemism for having sex.
Oh, I know.
I didn't know that until recently.
Oh.
And it's so cute because when my mom's like, what are you going to do this weekend? Netflix and chill? And I'm like, yes, Mom. Yes. Because she has no idea. She's taking
Me
it
and my
literally.
vibrator are going to Netflix and chill.
Yes, Mother.
Well, I had my sister-in-law used to teach, and she didn't know that it's what it meant, and she would say it to the kids.
Oh, my God. And oh, my God. Oh, my God.
And the kids didn't, well, the kids were most, like, they were, like, second graders or whatever.
Oh,
I don't
okay.
think they knew either, but it was just, like, later on she found out, she's like, oh, my God, like, really? That's what that means? I hope no
kid went home and said that to their parents, although their parents probably don't know.
They may not.
I only heard this, like, secondhand from my brother works with teenagers, and that's how he was like, did you know that's what that means?
Because he didn't know either, right?
Yeah, no, I know. It was news for everyone. It was news for all the adults in the room.
It's like, what are the kids doing these days? So now that you know, when they say they're going to go over to their boyfriend's house and Netflix and chill, you know what they're really doing.
Yeah, nope.
Are you into history that's strange, weird, bizarre, creepy, and crazy?
Maybe even spooky and scary with some monsters and mystery sprinkled in?
Then You Totally Made That Up is the podcast for you. It's just like the name says. We tell you stories that are so unbelievable, they sound like someone must have totally made them up.
Here's the thing, though. We don't focus on legends and lore. Our tales are filled with names and dates and all the facts we can find. So they're true stories, even when things try to take a supernatural, paranormal turn.
We've been known to bust myths on occasion, but mostly, we just have a good laugh at all the things that can't and can be explained.
Check us out on all your favorite podcast platforms and look for new episodes on Thursdays. We come at you bi-weekly with occasional bite-sized bonus episodes in between.
You can also find us on Twitter at YTMTU Podcast and on Instagram at You Totally Made That Up.
Okay, let's see. My Jane Doe is not nearly as grandiose as yours. Yours was amazing. Mine is, it's sad, but, you know, she's unidentified, so there you go. So I get my information from Stories from the Unsolved, Name Us, which is a database of John and Jane Does, and Lost and Found, which is also a database of Jane and John Does. So let's see. Mine is called the Miami-Dade County Jane Doe of 1979 because there have been about 4 other Jane Does in Miami-Dade County, but this one's from 1979. She's the earliest. So on the morning of September 4th, 1979, the residents of the Biscayne Garden Apartments in Miami-Dade County, Florida, discovered a body of an unidentified female who became known as the Miami-Dade County Jane Doe. The woman's body lay in the apartment complex parking lot next to a dumpster on the edge of a wooded lot toward the rear of the building. I get this weird thing whenever I'm reading aloud. I over-salivate. Do you have this problem?
Opposite. Well, no, when I read out loud, I stop breathing entirely. And then I don't know how to breathe anymore. And then so I just hold it and then I almost pass out. So
I just have to keep swallowing all this saliva. It's weird. So the Biscayne Garden Apartments are located at 15555 Northwest 2nd Avenue in Miami, Florida, and is situated just east of I-95. The interstate connects Miami with the entirety of the United States East Coast. So you can pretty much take I-95 all the way up and all the way down the East Coast. Kind of a wooded area. It's still pretty wooded. I mean, it's not real built up from what I was looking at with overhead Google Maps.
Oh, yeah, I'm sure in 1979, yeah.
It was even more so.
Yeah.
So it's still in this area where the apartment complex is still not super developed.
Okay.
Autopsy's findings. So upon her body being brought in for an examination, it was learned that Jane Doe had died of strangulation, leading investigators to feel that her death was the result of a homicide. No shit. While an exact time of death couldn't be determined, the state of the remains leans toward it occurring just hours before she was found, so most likely a body dump, which would explain, a wooded area near the interstate. Somebody probably knew it was a good place to be. They've been there before.
Do they know, what type of strangulation? Like, if it was manual or what's a ligature?
Ligature?
Yeah.
It didn't say.
Okay.
Didn't say. I tried to find, some sort of police report for it, but there wasn't one, unfortunately.
Okay.
So the description of the Jane Doe, she is white and thought to have been between 17 and 25 years of age. She stood somewhere between 5'6" and 5'8" inches tall. She weighed approximately 120 pounds. She had strawberry blonde hair, which was short to her chin and kind of wavy. And while her eyes were initially thought to be hazel, it's now believed they're more green or gray.
I thought hazel was gray. No? Is it more of a brownish color?
It's brown-green.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, brown-green.
Oh,
damn.
damn.
It's like a mixture.
My eyes are
a
hazel and I didn't even know it. Actually, I think it says hazel on my driver's license. I should pay attention more.
Mine says gray now. So I have a choice. I don't have to say blue because they're not really blue eyes. They're gray eyes.
I think a few years ago, my driver's license said red hair and green eyes, and then the last time it was blonde hair and hazel eyes. I don't know.
Yeah, they change a little bit, doesn't it? Mine's brown hair and gray eyes now instead of, I don't remember what it said before. Did it say brown eyes? Oh, it might have said blonde because I think I bleached my hair for my picture. They wouldn't let me put down brown. When found, Jane Doe was wearing a white t-shirt, a yellow floral scarf, and blue jeans. So now there's there's this description. She was wearing a white t-shirt, but in the sketches, she's wearing the yellow bandana around her top, like a top.
Oh, I see, like a bandeau or whatever they call it.
Yeah, but not, it's the point is coming down to her belly button. Her belly button would have been covered by the point.
Yep.
So she would have folded it in half, and then.
Yep.
Yeah. So I didn't see a white t-shirt in the sketches. I'm not really sure, what she was wearing the scarf on her hair, if she was wearing it
around her neck. That's yeah.
Or around her waist, where she was wearing
anywhere.
it. So
yeah, around her leg, like Punky Brewster used to do. It could have been
a little early, but yeah, I mean, a little early for that, but yeah.
But you know what I'm saying.
Yeah, I'm totally on board. She had facial acne and burns on the inside of both of her calves, which are most likely from the exhaust of a motorcycle.
Oh.
I've gotten this burn before. It's not fun.
I've seen a burn on someone's leg. It did not look fun at all. It's just hot metal burning the shit out of you, isn't it?
Oh, yeah. You get branded, 2nd-degree burn. Boom.
Ugh.
Not fun. And I got mine when I was traveling in Thailand with a friend who had rented a motorbike, and I burned my leg on the motorbike, and it's so hot in Thailand that the heat in the air made it hurt worse.
Oh, and I'm sure you're sweating into it.
Oh, yeah, it was awful. It was totally awful. They call it the Thai tattoo because it happens so frequently there.
Do you still have a scar from it?
No, I don't.
Okay.
I don't even know what had happened anymore, so it's nice. But it did really put a damper on my trip there.
Ooh, yeah.
So she had some fillings in her teeth, so just believe that she had access to some sort of dental care, and probably somebody cared about her at some point to get her teeth taken care of. Which makes me think that at one point she had a loving family. Mm-hmm. Which is all the more sad that we don't know who she is.
Do they know how old she was, approximately?
Between 17 and 25.
Okay. So,
Yeah.
I mean, we would think that the fillings would probably be within the last 10 years as an adult.
Right.
Because she'd have adult teeth. Okay.
Yeah, exactly. Let's see. According to investigators, she had said her name was Fallon S. Love, and that she was born on June 23rd, 1961, meaning that she would have been about 18 years old at the time of her death. She claimed she was unemployed and living at the Young Apartments in Hollywood, Florida, and that her closest relative was a man named Ben Misa, who was in Brooklyn, New York. It's currently unknown whether this information has been verified. So I guess from reports just
Like, has she been
canvassing
arrested
the area
before or something? Like, how did they get
It doesn't
that?
say.
Does
It
she
doesn't
have
say,
ID on her?
I don't know. It doesn't say. There's so little information about what has been released about her.
I feel like
I'm assuming they must have canvassed the area and asked people if they had seen this woman.
Okay.
From the sketches that they had.
I see. Okay.
Yeah. And she was identified by somebody as this person, but there's no record of this woman existing.
Okay.
There's no Fallon S. Love anywhere.
That name sounds made up.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Can you spell the first name for me?
Fallon.
Okay.
Fallon.
Fallon?
Fallon, yeah.
Love? Yeah, that sounds fake as fuck. Mm-hmm. Is that what the F stands for?
Fake.
Fallon, fake love?
Oh, Fallon S.
Oh, S.
Love.
S.
Yeah, it's that's how you're going to introduce yourself? That seems really weird. That's almost like a stage name.
No, yeah, totally. Yep. Mm-hmm.
And how many people actually introduce themselves with their middle initial or with a middle initial? Not very many people do that.
Only famous people, and only because it's like a Screen Actors Guild thing.
Right, exactly.
Like Michael Keaton's real name is Michael Douglas.
Oh, but there was already a Michael Douglas.
Yeah. So instead of being like Michael A. Douglas, he just changed his last name.
Right, because you can only have one.
Yeah.
Person with that name in Hollywood. That's why so many of them changed their names. Mm-hmm. So let's see. In 2014, a new angle was investigated. It is the belief of some that Jane Doe had been a young runaway from Ohio named Tina, who was also went by the nickname Sheba. She'd last been seen leaving the state prior to 1977. However, not much has been publicly shared regarding this lead. A lot of people believe, when they write about her, they call her Tina or Sheba.
Okay.
Instead of Jane Doe, even though there's been no evidence that this lead has actually panned out to be anything true.
The only evidence that I could link so far would be the name. First, Tina became Sheba. Maybe Sheba became Fallon or whatever.
Right. Or the S, kind of a thing.
Oh, Sheba. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But if this had panned out, she would no longer be a Jane Doe. She'd be Tina from Ohio. And she would be named by now.
Right.
Then they would be looking for her murderer at this point. Okay. According to investigators, it's probable that she was murdered in another location before being dumped at the apartment building where she was found, since it's right off I-95, right? So there are a list of women we can rule out, and I'm going to list them now because only one of them has been identified. The rest are all still missing. Phyllis Berry from Terlunga, Texas, went missing on November 11th, 1975. Priscilla Bevins, who went missing from Charlotte, North Carolina on July 7th, 1975. Her body was identified 27 years later from DNA and dental records. Her sister gave DNA, and that was when they finally discovered who this Jane Doe was, but they still don't know how she was murdered. Mm-hmm. Rosemary E. Hamilton Buck, who went missing from Syracuse, New York in August 11th, 1973. Judy Lynn Davis, who went missing from Jacksonville, Florida on May 13th, 1972. Paula Lynch, who went missing from Marathon, Florida in 1978. Catherine A. Major, who went missing from Teton Village, Wyoming on September 19th, 2009. Michelle McCauley from Fort Lauderdale, Florida, July 7th, 1979. Suzanne Schultz from Black Earth, Wisconsin, December 1st, 1978. Lynn Schultz from Middlebury, Vermont, December 10th, 1971. Mary Ann Swilotsky, that's a mouthful. Chicago, Illinois, July 15th, 1963. Joanne Williams from Scranton, Pennsylvania on December 7th, 1978. Lisa Wilson from Fort Worth, Texas on December 23rd, 1974. Rebecca Dunn from San Diego, California, April 1st, 1979. And Martha Jean Lambert from Elkington, Florida on November 27th, 1985. So out of these 14 women, like I said, only one has been found. All the rest are still missing persons.
Okay.
Which is really sad.
I know.
That's 13 women. Mm-hmm. And that's just the ones that have been ruled out from being this Jane Doe.
Right.
That's just blows me away that there's so many women who are still gone.
Mm-hmm.
Let's see. So motorcycle burns. A lot of armchair investigators really latch on to this piece of evidence as a sign that perhaps she was in with a motorcycle gang.
Okay.
So a passenger, there was a peer-reviewed paper that I read on PubMed that says that women and children who tend to be motorcycle passengers, they read on the back of the motorcycle, are more likely to get burns in their legs. So it's probably what she was doing. She was a passenger on a motorcycle when she received the burns on her legs.
Right.
I imagine that in the 70s, that being in Florida, the weather's usually nice all year round.
Shorts.
Motorcycles are cheap. Wearing shorts.
Yeah.
Really easy to go up and down the interstate. That's how most people are traveling.
Right.
Easy Rider was a big movie. Everybody thinks motorcycles are cool.
I just feel like there are a lot more motorcycles in the late 70s and early 80s than there are now. I don't know why.
Yeah. But I think, people tend to be it's times have changed. You want to be safer.
Well,
there wasn't helmet laws back then.
And when was the fuel crisis? Because that might have sparked a lot of motorcycle purchases too.
It was in the 70s.
Yeah.
I want to say it's the epoch, but I don't know, it's not
OPEC.
Right. OPEC, that's what it is. The OPEC oil embargo. Yeah, where people had to line up to get gasoline.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm pretty sure that was the late 70s.
I'm pretty sure it was too.
Let's see. So, is there a possible motorcycle gang connection? I don't personally think that just because you have burns on your legs means that you're connected to a motorcycle gang.
Yeah.
I tried to look into gang activity in the Miami area in the late 70s with regard to outlaw motorcycle gangs, and much of the gang activity occurred later on. But there was one gang who did terrorize South Florida in the late 70s and early 80s, and this outlaw motorcycle gang was actually called the Outlaws. Mm-hmm. And they ran drugs, they murdered people, they raped people, they assaulted them, they pimped out sex workers, and they even decapitated a few people. Mm-hmm. But their turf was up in Fort Lauderdale, which is about an hour north.
Right.
But, this is a body dump, so it's possible that they may have gone to a place they knew would be secluded to dump a body. I mean, it's true of anybody, right? It doesn't have to be from the area.
Too is they didn't put her on the back of a motorcycle to dump her body, so maybe it was
it had to have been in a car.
Totally unrelated,
Yeah,
I'm just
exactly.
assuming
she got a ride from somebody.
Yeah.
From the beach, somewhere.
Yeah.
And maybe she knew somebody at the apartment complex.
I would say that they're not causally related, her burns and her death.
No, I don't think they are either. I mean, I think it's just a coincidence.
Just a coincidence, yeah.
Yeah. So the case is still open. Her fingerprints and dentals are on file with the Miami-Dade County database there. And according to NamUs, her DNA has also been processed, but no other matches have come up. So,
you know what I'm wondering? Now that they have everyone's doing the genealogy and DNA stuff, are they taking the DNA that they have, the police from these cold cases, and uploading them to any of these genealogy sites to see if there's matches? They are.
They are.
Okay, Cool.
They do. They do it with DNA that they have found at crime scenes.
Yeah.
That was how they caught the Golden State Killer.
Oh yeah, right. They found his DNA was a relative of someone.
Yeah, it was a distant relative, and it wasn't through Ancestry because that stuff's all closed. But there are other ones that are open,
like the 23andMe and stuff like that.
Well, that's Ancestry.
Oh,
that's
that is.
23andMe it's the same. Well, it's linked. Yeah.
Oh,
So
okay, I see.
you can't. Those guys are closed, but there are other places that do familia DNA. Like you can do a search there like that, and that's what the law enforcement has been using.
Wow.
And it's all anonymous. Like they don't know like who everybody is. You can't tell. Like you can't just read someone's DNA online.
Yeah.
But they do upload things and see if there's any cross matches, and then go from there. And they've caught a few people.
I would
using that
imagine.
technique.
I would imagine they have, because I've done like the 23andMe, and I got an email last week like from someone trying to put together their family tree because we share DNA. You know. Mm-hmm. And I was like, I talked to my grandmother. She's never heard of you people. Sorry, I can't help fill in your family tree.
I get people every once in a while who like friend me on 23andMe, and it's fascinating. Like the people that I found, like there was actually two black people from Alabama that recently, but I have zero African DNA. So I was like, oh, well, this is interesting. Like, how did this all work? How do we have the same DNA? Like, so you must have white DNA.
Yeah. Right.
European DNA. So I was like,
well,
oh,
I
this
think
is
most
exciting.
African Americans do from slave descent. Yeah. Descendants of slaves do, I think. Yeah.
So I was hoping to have some sort of surprise in my 23andMe. I was like, no surprise.
You were hoping for a little bit ethnic diversity.
I
or
was
something.
something in there, some color. I was like, no, no surprises.
White girl all the way.
Yeah, all the way. A little Ashkenazi Jew, very very small amount. Like we're talking like 0.1%. But I was like, oh yay, there's the Jewish part.
Yeah, I got nothing. I'm like so Western European.
I was surprised to see there was some like Norwegian
stuff
in there. I was like, oh, okay.
Norwegian
that
is
would
my
be in
most
there.
dominant.
Oh, mine's French and German.
I'm like 30% Norwegian, about like 30% German, like 30% Irish, and then a little mixture of like English or something like that.
Yeah, German, French, English, and then it starts to go down there. Some Neanderthal, which was cool.
Oh, I don't have Neanderthal DNA.
Oh, I do. I was like, oh, cool. Somebody fucked a Neanderthal.
No, but you know what?
Super excited.
There's a gene that makes you like afraid of public speaking. Mm-hmm. I don't have it, Cyndi. Mine.
Yeah, well, it's a scary thing getting up in front of people.
I was
it's
like,
just scary in general.
When I saw the email, I was like, oh, I know I got that gene. If anyone got that gene, that's me. And I was like, I don't have the gene. I'm like, God damn it. This means that for me, it's just socially conditioned.
According to my DNA, I am less likely to have Morton's toe, which I have Morton's toe on both feet, where my second toe is longer than my big toe.
Oh.
Way longer on my left foot, like drastically. So, like, I buy shoes for my second toe, not my big toe.
Oh,
it's so long.
Wow.
Yeah, it's like they're like little fingers. I have finger toes. And I'm less likely to have freckles. I'm covered in freckles. It's like, you guys might have tested the wrong DNA there. It's like, I have freckles on my knees. I have freckles on my ears. I have freckles on my lips. Like, I am freckled.
Are you like Lindsay Lohan, where you have freckles coming out of your pussy?
No, I don't have any freckles on my stomach. I don't have freckles on my back. I get them on my legs, on my arms. I don't even get them on my neck. I just get them. They stop at my jawline. It's really weird.
I get them on my face. I have one on my lip, which hasn't been there my whole life. It's new. And I get them on my shoulders, and my arms.
They never go away.
But I don't get them on my legs, and I don't get them on my body, but just my.
I get them on
my arms.
I get them on my calves and the top part of my thigh, not the back part.
I think I could
Just the
maybe
top
get some
part.
around my knees, but that's about it as far as my legs go.
Yeah, I've never gotten them on my back or my stomach though.
No, me neither.
It's weird, and I've gotten tan there before. Just I don't get them there. It's normal. That's where the DNA is normal.
Yeah.
Everywhere else, it's fractured and doesn't work well.
Yeah.
Okay, so if people would like to know more information regarding the identity of this Jane Doe, they are being asked to contact the Miami-Dade Police Department at, and I'll put this up on the website too, but it's 305-476-5423 is the phone number, or the medical examiner in Miami-Dade County at 305-545-2400. They can also give tips to the Miami-Dade Crime Stoppers at 305-471-8477, and her case number is 1979-2413. And on the online, I will put her picture up, and that was courtesy of Samantha Steinberg, the Miami-Dade Crime Stoppers. So Samantha Steinberg is a forensic artist who does a lot of reconstructions of missing people and age progressions of missing people. And she's so fucking good that when they find the people, you're like, that's them.
Right.
Like, you got it spot on 20 years later. Like, that's what they fucking look like.
Yeah.
And she'll do a couple different ones. She'll, like, take, you know, characteristics, because people's faces change a little bit, like when they're babies. Mm-hmm. They change a little bit over time. She'll, like, maybe do more of dad's jaw in one and then mom's jaw in another, and so she has people have a couple things to look, you know,
right,
to work from, and she's really good.
Interesting.
Really good. And she teaches classes on how to do this kind of stuff, which I find fascinating.
Oh, cool. Was that thunder?
No, it's my neighbors.
Oh, okay.
My noisy ass neighbors.
I gotcha.
Like, it sounded like they were out here trying to drill a hole in my connecting wall a little while ago. I was like, oh, okay, cool.
I didn't hear, unless that was before we started recording.
That was right before we started.
Oh, okay. Well, my wind chimes didn't go off, so that was the only thing I was concerned about.
I never heard them, not once, and I was listening for them.
I just had a plane go by. I think that was the only noise.
Yeah, and they walked around a couple of times. I saw the microphone pick it up, like crackling noises. So noisy.
I was just going to ask. Isn't it so sad that some of these women go missing and no one reports them missing? Like, they feel like they must be orphans or runaways that no one cared to report missing?
I think in a lot of cases, like, maybe they were foster children that ran away.
I mean, right.
In this time period, I think a lot of these women who go missing were in abusive households.
Yeah, right.
And nobody gave a shit.
Yeah, no one was going to report her missing.
No, nobody reported them missing, so they're just lost.
Oh, it's so sad.
Forever.
And then they get murdered. And then their body gets dumped and no one remembers them, so.
Yeah, and I mean, you know, philosophically, we all get forgotten eventually, right? But at least we got to live out our lives. We got to do stuff. And she's like 18 years old. She didn't get to do anything.
I know. Well, but we don't know. It was the 70s. Maybe she lived a full life up until that point. We know she was...
Yeah, maybe.
I
mean, if she was 18 and looked 25, she lived a full life.
she somehow had some rough shit going on, maybe.
Right. It actually makes it sadder. You're like, oh, poor dear.
Yeah, I mean, that would be my guess. If someone's not reported missing, that you're maybe living a life on the streets, or maybe you're like a prostitute or something.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Sex worker, drug addict. Yeah.
Yeah.
Sad.
It is sad.
But I don't know if there was any signs of anything like that. It wasn't reported, so I don't know.
Oh.
She will always be pure to me. She's just a little girl that got lost one day.
Right.
Makes me feel that one day she will actually get, I don't know, justice. Because she was murdered, straight up murdered.
Yeah. And strangulation is
a horrible way to go.
Horrible way to go.
Yeah, it's very up close and personal and very savage.
You betcha.
That was a bit of a downer. Sorry.
No, that's all right. I mean, it's not like mine was really uplifting either, but... No. Yours had a nice message, though, at the end. Like, stop fucking trying to climb this mountain. Unless you really know how to climb the mountain. Just knock it off.
Yeah. Exactly. You're endangering everybody.
Well, the reason why people pick Everest, well, it is the highest in the world, but it's easier than most of the other mountains in the Himalayas. I mean, K2 will have maybe 12 people who try to climb it every year. Mount Everest can have up to 800 because, you know, it's easy. As far as routes go, it's an easier mountain.
Right.
It just so
right.
happens to be the highest one in the world.
Yeah, also, there's some really treacherous ones in South America that people try to climb.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. They're just, there's not a lot of people out there. It's the thing. It's like you go up and you just get lost. Nobody knows you're there.
I actually heard a talk from someone who summited Everest without oxygen. His name is Jorn Kropp. He's deceased now. I think he died in Antarctica or something. He rode his bike from like Finland or something to the base camp of Everest and then climbed it without aid, without support, so no Sherpas, and without oxygen.
That's nuts.
It's nuts. The guy was nuts, and it was so funny, but he said because he has to pack his whole way there, and so he's really concerned about weight, because he's got to drag that whole weight with him. So he only wore one pair of underwear. That's it. He didn't bring a second pair. And he said he wore that pair of underwear like every way that you could ever think to like wear that pair of underwear. And then when he was after he summited on his way back to Camp 4, he shit his pants. And he said if he had to do the whole trip all over again, he'd bring a second pair of underwear.
That's his only takeaway. Bring more than one pair of underwear.
More than one pair, yeah.
Well, I guess that's a lesson learned there.
So for all you crazy people who want to ride your bike to Everest, climb it self-supported without oxygen, bring two pairs of undies.
God, on a bike? Oh, gross, man. Oh, you definitely bring more than one pair of underwear. That's like you just crotch, like just getting jammed into that underwear like for hours on end every single day.
Maybe he freeballed it until he got to colder climates.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Possibly. I mean, oh, okay. Well, priorities. My priorities are different.
I wear 2 pairs of underwear a day. So I put on a fresh pair in the morning, and then I like to put on a fresh pair before I go to sleep.
Sometimes you just got to do that.
Oh, I do it every day just because I just prefer it.
Mm-hmm.
It just feels better to go to sleep with a clean pair of underwear on.
I agree. Yeah. I totally am right there with you.
So,
like I said, priorities, man.
So anytime I go anywhere, I actually pack I bring 2 undies a day and then some extras. So if I was going to do that, going to do that trip, I'd bring so many pairs of underwear, probably more than anything else.
Yeah, that would be your entire pack. It's like, oh, it's just got underwear in it.
Yeah.
Scott, I don't have oxygen. I don't have another pair of shoes. I just have underwear. Do you need some underwear? I've got extra.
Everyone else puts prayer flags or their like country flag on top of the summit, and I put a pair of undies on a stick.
Clothespin to it, just waving in the breeze. What a big F you. Look at my undies. There they are. That's so funny.
Well, this has been Demi World.
I'm Cyndi.
And I'm Kelly.
Thanks for listening.
Bye.
Bye. This has been Demi World. You can find us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Demi World Podcast. You can visit our website for show notes at demiworld.net. If you want to reach out, you can email us at demiworldpodcast@gmail.com. You can support us on Patreon at Demi World Podcast. And remember to rate, review, and subscribe. Thanks for listening. Bye.